Howdy guys, how's it going? So this video right here, just up front, is not going to incorporate any actual gameplay. I'm just going to be running through each individual launcher, going through the separate camo sections, and just giving some tips that I have learned along my Damascus journey to help you guys speed through the launchers. Because those that's been following along and, you know, as watched past videos, I'm sure you've heard me complain about how big of a pain in the rear end working on these launcher camos was. So we're going to be starting off with the Pilla, the P-I-L-A. This right here, this launcher was very easy to do. It was the first one that I got done, and the main reason why it was the easiest was because you have the ability to lock on to vehicles, aircraft, whatever, but you also have the free fire capability. When starting out with this launcher or any of the other ones, your main thing that you're going to want to do is just to actually play it normally. Don't be 100% focused at the beginning, because you're going to have to take and unlock these camo sections by gaining weapon XP like you do with any of the other weapons. And that to me was the most frustrating thing to begin with, because a lot of these camos overlap each other, like this one right here, which is destroy ground-based vehicles or kill streaks, and then the very last one you unlock is destroy 50 vehicles. So it's like if you was able to unlock all these closer together, then you could run through them super fast, because a lot of them will overlap each other. And I found when I was first working on it, because the first camo criteria is to just kill enemies, so I found myself obsessing over that itself when I was actually missing out on gaining a lot of XP by not destroying kill streaks or vehicles or anything along that nature, which in turn would have led to me completing this a lot faster. So just make sure when you're starting out with all the launchers, take advantage of any score streaks you can wipe out, any vehicles or any kills that you can get, and because all that right there contributes to the XP, which like I said in turn will unlock these camo sections a whole lot quicker so that you can run through them. Now with the second and third camo section, the woodland and the digital, it is earn 40 attack awards and then 40 defend awards. So what that means is you're going to want to kill players who are either in an objective or who are trying to attack your objective. My top two game modes that I found for that was hardcore headquarters and hardcore hardpoint. Now even in hardcore, if people have EOD, it can still be a two-shot, but from my experience, especially in hardcore, most people was not running EOD. And for all my launchers, the woodland and digital was the two camo sections that I ended up completing the quickest. Then with dragon, destroy aerial kill streaks for this launcher, super easy because you can lock on. Now with all the camo sections that have to do with destroying vehicles or ground-based kill streaks, which is splinter, skulls, and sandstorm or topo. So topo, splinter, and skulls, all three have to do with destroying vehicles or ground-based kill streaks. Now for that, even if you don't like it, your best bet is to play ground more, because that's the only thing where vehicles and things of that nature are in there. Now something that I'm not quite sure of, because I wasn't paying enough attention to it specifically, but early on when I started working on my launchers, I was hopping into ground war matches and I was blowing up vehicles that was towards the enemy side, and it was counting towards my vehicle count. But then there was an update and then that no longer worked, and the only vehicle destruction medals that was actually counting towards the rocket launcher camos was whenever there was a vehicle that had just been used by an enemy. So if the enemy had not used that vehicle, rather it be an ATV, a UTV, one of the Humvees, like whatever, if the enemy hadn't used it and you blew it up, then it wouldn't count. So make sure that an enemy has been in it or used it before you just waste your time blowing it up, or it will not count. Now then for the tiger camos, destroying support kill streaks, that's like, you know, just UAVs, personal UAVs, anything along those lines. And now originally I thought that ground war would be the best place to do that as well. And now with the launchers that you can lock onto, it probably is, but when we get to the other launchers that don't lock on, like the RPG and the Strela, then I'll touch on some different aspects for that one in particular. Then reptile, very, very easy, like self-explanatory. You got to use the amp perk. The amp perk is your perk slot number 3. It's faster weapon swap and rocket launcher reload speed, and trust me, it is a world of difference between the reload speed with or without the amp perk. Pretty much everything to cover with the Pilla launcher. Like I said, this right here is the easiest one, so I mean, if you're really going to be scratching your head by the end of the time you're working on them, you might want to take and save this one for last. Okay, so then the next launcher on the list is the Strela-P. Okay, now this launcher right here was one of the more difficult ones, and I think it was actually the last one that I unlocked the mask is for and platinum for and gold and all that good old stuff, just because I saved it for last. But it's actually, I'd say it's a little bit easier than the RPG, but the RPG is more fun to use in my opinion. But now looking at the camos, getting kills with it is very easy. The same thing goes with the attack and defender kills, you know, hard point, headquarters, all that good old stuff. Aerial kill streaks is the thing. VTOLs was the easiest to kill, but when it came to support kill streaks, UAVs are very difficult to hit with this thing unless you're able to get right underneath it and then lead the shot a little bit. So personal UAVs are what you're going to want to really aim for attacking with this thing. And for that, I found that the most consistent game mode for players using personal UAVs was free-for-all. So for the aerial kill streaks and for the support kill streaks, I'd recommend hopping into free-for-all matches to complete that camo section for this launcher. Now, as it touches on into the description, this thing is phenomenal for destroying vehicles. The main thing I would say is wait until the vehicle has some damage done to it by either your teammates or you light it up with some machine gun fire, AR fire, or whatever until it's near the end of its life, because what ended up happening to me a lot was whenever I was trying to get vehicle kills, it was something other than the ATVs or the UTVs, which are normally always a one-shot with this thing. With a lot of the armored vehicles, I would end up getting 1 or 2 rockets into it depending on the type of vehicle, and then a teammate would just swoop in and finish it off. So you just kind of have to be aware of your surroundings and how your teammates are playing. That way you don't end up just getting assist medals and stuff, because that right there, those add up and it really slow you down. Then, you know, reptile amp perks, very self-explanatory, destroy the kill streaks. This one, I mean, it's a straight shot rocket launcher. If you haven't used it, it's got like one of the fastest hit times out of all of them, because I mean it takes the word rocket literally, and I mean it's just a split second before the projectile actually gets to what you're shooting at. But if you're playing on ground war maps and you're going for aerial score streaks, if it's far away, you will have to take an aim slightly above, because it does have an arc to it. If you're going for like some type of aerial kill streak, score streak, or just like one of the helicopters in ground war that people use for transportation, and it'll be a one shot like 95% of the time, unless it's a VTOL. VTOL is a 2-shot, or if you know something like a gunship. Well, gunships you're not really going to be able to hit, but like a helo, something along those lines. And what I like to do was, most of the time, if I aimed like dead level with the top of the propellers with any of the helicopters, then the arc would hit somewhere between like that control arm between the helicopter and the propellers, or the helicopter body itself. So I think that's all for this one. You know, big thing is still just play with your primary weapon and just make sure that you're taking advantage of unlocking all the camos while you're playing throughout the game. Focus on the score streaks, killing the enemy players, all that, because that first 125 kills with the rocket launcher sounds like a lot and you want to obsess over it in the beginning, but trust me, by the time you're done all the way through this, you're going to have hundreds of kills with these launchers a piece. Then on to the third launcher, we got the Joker. This launcher to me is really interesting, and I wouldn't say that it isn't fun to use, but a couple of the things that you have to complete with it are kind of a pain in the butt, and they kind of take a little bit of practice to get used to complete. So now this one is really easy to kill aerial score streaks with, even like UAVs and things of that nature, just because you can lock onto your target. But with the support kill streak thing, whenever you're dealing with UAVs, or counter UAVs, you're going to want to time it to whenever the UAV or counter UAV just has come in, because I found even if the UAV and stuff's only been up for 15, 25, 30 seconds, so like in that ballpark, the time it takes for the launcher to shoot the rocket up into the sky and then come back down and connect with either the UAV or the counter UAV, normally it's either already been blown up by somebody else or it's exited the area, because after the UAV takes off, the rocket itself cannot catch up with the aircraft. When it comes to getting kills with this thing, a lot of the kills will add up whenever you destroy vehicles or some score streaks if the person's using them. But then, like for these attacker and defender medals, you definitely want to hit up hardpoint and headquarters. Headquarters was my main go-to, and make sure you're in the hardcore playlist. Whenever Shoot the Ship was around, Shoot House was the best map, hands down, to get through these things. I think it only took me like 8 or 9 matches. And I mean, that might sound like a lot, but you'll understand when you actually work on these things. in like 8 or 9 matches, I completed all of these kills right here for these 2 camo sections. And when it comes to the vehicles and like ground-based vehicles and score streaks, just kind of follow the same advice with the Strela. Just damage the vehicle up a bit. Be aware of the players around you that are also using launchers and stuff, because you don't want to end up wounding that thing, like, you know, lowering the vehicle's damage just enough that your teammate can swoop in and, you know, claim the kill, and then all you get is an assist, so it won't count towards it. Certain things like ATVs and UTVs can be kind of hard to lock onto if you don't have a good sight picture from distance, because they move so fast. Because I think this one out of all of them has the longest lock-on time whenever you're trying to, you know, lock on to a vehicle or a score streak. So just keep that in mind as well. But yeah, this being the second launcher that you can actually lock on to vehicles or aircraft with makes that part of it very easy. I'd say most of you guys will probably just have the harder time completing these attacker and defender medals. But all in all, this launcher right here surprisingly was not that big of a pain to work through. And I think it was the second one that I ended up getting gold, platinum, in Damascus. Finally, we have the tried and true RPG-7, also known as a terrorist's best friend. Now, this one has got to be the easiest to get kills and stuff with, and probably the most fun, just because it's such a, I don't know, it's just got like a rawness to it that's very fun to use. Now, the biggest pain with this one, just like with the Strela, was dealing with some of the aerial kill streaks, because with this one, especially when it comes to support kill streaks, the only ones you're going to be able to really benefit from is going to be the personal UAVs. So just hop into those free-for-all matches and just keep your fingers crossed that people have those things equipped and do good enough to call them in. When it comes to working with the vehicles and ground-based score streaks, once again, hopped in ground war, focused on UTVs, ATVs, all that good old stuff. Ended up completing that a lot quicker with this launcher than a lot of the other ones. Like, it really surprised me how quick I got through that. This one's the easiest, you know, to get the kills with and everything, so I don't think many of you guys will have that hard of a time with it. But just don't be trying to take out UAVs and counter UAVs and stuff, because the odds of you hitting them, especially consistently, is extremely low. The only way you're really going to be able to manage it is to just be right under the thing and to really get your timing right for how them things are flying over and how much you need to lead your rocket. And I think this launcher by itself, even without the amp perk, has like the fastest reload time out of all of them. So once you throw the amp perk on, you can actually cycle through the RPG rockets very fast, and like the reload time is very good. So field upgrades are actually very useful whenever you're working on launchers. I like to shift between the munitions box and dead silence. And now the reason is, you only load in, you got a rocket in the chamber, or I guess it's called a chamber. I'm not quite sure about that, but you got a rocket in the chamber and you got one in your backpack, your pocket, wherever your character keeps it. But other than that, there's no way to replenish, because I run Scavenger, and Scavenger did not replenish the rockets, but that was before this last update, so who knows, it might have changed. And even on Ground War, if you go to the ammunition catches where you can refill your ammo, it would not refill the rockets either. So the only way that you can take and gain another rocket in a life is to carry around a munitions box and subsequently hope that your teammates have. Whenever I was grinding these launchers, what I had to do most of the time was I just cook a grenade, kill myself just so I could spawn back quick and, you know, take and destroy whatever score streak or vehicle or anything I was after. And then the dead silence was good, because depending on the map you're playing and the score streak you're after, like if there's a score streak you really want to take down and it's around, like there's a bunch of enemies around, I would throw on dead silence, that way I could just run around the building, through the building or whatever, relatively undetected, and, you know, attempt to take out the score streak. Because every now and then you'll get in games where like you'll go through the whole match and there won't be nothing, so then like by the time you get to the next game or the next match, and then you end up having like score streaks and stuff being called in, you just get excited and you want to get in there and just make sure that you know you're able to take and blow them things up, because everyone counts. And it's like just looking at the numbers, I mean, think about it, you got like you're destroying over 200 vehicles per like the camos by the time you combined all the rocket launchers and stuff together. So I mean, it's a lot to do, but you know, as we've discussed before, it's a very fulfilling feeling after you actually take and put in the time and get the Damascus camo. Okay, Alright guys, that's it. I hope these tips end up helping you out. I know, I mean, launchers are definitely the scourge of the whole Damascus grind in general. Just remember, the main things is, if you're, no matter what level you are, if you're doing Damascus or not, if you want to do the camos for this, if you think you'll ever want to do the camos for this, start now. Incorporate it into your gameplay. I mean, like, as somebody that loves using pistols, I save the launchers for last as their own group, but don't do that. Like, if you're grinding your ARs, your shotguns, whatever, throw a launcher on it in your secondary slot and just have it ready anytime. Just try to be conscious, listen to the game announcer anytime they call in, score streaks or whatever. Find them, destroy them, and you can thank me later. But as always, appreciate taking time to watch the video. Be sure to click that thumbs up button if you liked the video, if it helped at all. Leave me some comments down in the comment section. Subscribe if you haven't already. And until the next one, adios.